Imagine waking up every single morning with a mind so totally immune to anxiety, fear, and self-doubt that no bad news, no insult, and no sudden catastrophe could ever shake your peace. 2,000 years ago, the most powerful human beings on earth used a secret mental trigger before stepping out into the light, a sequence of 5 ancient words whispered in private chambers. These 5 words weren't magic spells. They were a precise psychological code designed to intercept your brain's morning programming before the noise of the world could corrupt it. Why did a Roman philosopher condemned to death by a lunatic tyrant recite these exact words while counting his chess pieces on the way to the executioner's block? What happens inside your brain when you speak these 5 words before looking at your phone? And how can a simple 15-second morning ritual instantly erase decades of subconscious conditioning? Stick with me, because once you embed these 5 words into your morning routine, you will unlock an inner tranquility that nothing on this earth can break. The moment your eyes open in the morning, a silent war begins inside your skull. In those first few seconds between sleep and full awareness, your subconscious brain is wide open, completely exposed, and desperately searching for an anchor. Most people immediately hand control of that critical window to the outside world. They reach for their phones, flooding their nervous systems with news, social media, work emails, and artificial outrage. Before their feet even touch the cold floor, their minds are already reactive, anxious, and defensive. They have handed the steering wheel of their soul to complete strangers. To understand how to reclaim that window of power, consider the chilling story of Julius Canis, a brilliant philosopher living under the bloodthirsty reign of the Roman Emperor Caligula. Caligula was a tyrant driven by insane cruelty and unpredictable mood swings. One afternoon, after a petty argument during a game of chess, Caligula flew into a rage and ordered Canis to be executed immediately. Canis didn't scream. He didn't drop to his knees and beg the tyrant for mercy. He simply bowed his head politely and said, "Thank you, most excellent prince." For 10 days, Canis sat in his dark prison cell waiting for the executioner. On the 10th morning, as the guards marched down the stone hallway, they found Canis sitting on the floor, playing a game of chess with a fellow prisoner. When the executioner dragged him out into the courtyard, his friends were weeping hysterically, terrified for his life. Canis turned to them with absolute composure and whispered, "Why are you weeping? You are wondering whether the soul is immortal, while I am about to step out and find out." As he walked to the executioner's block, he counted his chess pieces one by one to ensure his opponent wouldn't cheat after he was gone. How does a human being reach a state of mind where even the axe of an executioner cannot cause their heart to skip a single beat? Canis didn't possess supernatural powers. He had simply trained his mind every single morning to embody 5 specific mental anchors, 5 ancient words that reprogrammed his subconscious brain to recognize the difference between what actually matters and what is purely an illusion. The first ancient word is an imperative command to your own consciousness, prosoke, the relentless practice of total, unwavering presence. Before you step into the noise of the day, your mind tries to sprint into the future, obsessing over tasks, worries, and hypothetical disasters that haven't even happened yet. Or it drags you backward into the past, forcing you to chew on old regrets and dead conversations. Prosoke brings your soul back to the exact second you are breathing in right now. It is the realization that the past is a ghost, the future is a fantasy, and the present moment is the only terrain where you possess any actual power. When you speak this word upon waking, you anchor your awareness directly into reality. Let's look at what happens when a mind lacks this presence, and how an ancient leader used it to save himself from ruin. The great Pythagorean commander Archytas of Tarentum was known throughout the ancient world for his incredible emotional self-control. One afternoon, after returning home from a long military campaign, Archytas walked onto his farm to find that his estate manager had neglected his duties, ruining months of crops and losing valuable livestock through pure laziness. Archytas felt a hot surge of rage boil up in his chest. His hands clenched into fists, his pulse raced, and he felt the sudden, overwhelming urge to strike the manager down. Archytas closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and stood entirely still for 10 long seconds. He opened his eyes, looked at the trembling manager calmly, and said, "Would beat you severely right now, if I were not angry." Archytas refused to act while his mind was hijacked by raw emotion. He recognized that an angry reaction is always a weak reaction. By forcing a moment of absolute presence, he pulled his mind out of emotional chaos and restored his total self-control. This brings us directly into the second ancient word that transforms your morning brain, ataraxia, the state of unshakable, untouchable calm. Ataraxia is not a passive, lazy state of mind. It is a dense, impenetrable stillness that sits at the center of your soul. When you speak this word in the quiet moments of the morning, you are making a binding covenant with yourself. You are declaring that no matter how chaotic the day becomes, no matter who shouts at you, who cuts you off in traffic, or what unexpected problem lands on your lap, you will not allow the external noise to penetrate your inner sanctuary. Imagine moving through a chaotic world carrying a crystal bowl filled to the brim with pure water. If you run, panic, or react to every loud sound around you, the water spills and is lost. Ataraxia is the mental discipline that keeps the water completely still, regardless of the earthquake happening around you. To understand what this level of inner stillness looks like in the face of immense danger, consider the life of Portia Catonis. Portia was the daughter of Cato the Younger and the wife of Brutus. During the dangerous political conspiracy against Julius Caesar, Portia knew her husband was carrying a secret that could mean his torture and execution. The anxiety in Rome was suffocating. Every breath felt loaded with danger, and the people around her were collapsing into panic. Instead of breaking down, Portia took a small knife, drove it deep into her own thigh, and endured the excruciating agony for hours in complete silence, without making a single sound. When Brutus found her, amazed and horrified, she looked at him with cold, absolute composure and said, "I gave myself this wound to test if I had the quiet courage to endure whatever fate brings to our family." She proved to herself before the crisis arrived that her mind was far stronger than physical pain or emotional panic. When the conspiracy unfolded and Rome erupted into chaos, while others lost their minds, Portia remained an unshakable pillar of quiet authority. Now, let's step into the third ancient word, a concept so deep that it instantly destroys feelings of loneliness, envy, and resentment before your day even begins, sympathia, the profound realization of universal connection. Most people wake up feeling isolated, as if it is them against the entire world. They view every person they meet as potential competition, a threat, or an obstacle in their way. This competitive mindset creates constant, underlying friction in your nervous system. You feel defensive, guarded, and exhausted before noon. Sympathia reminds you that you are not an isolated island floating in a hostile sea. You are an organic part of a vast, interconnected human family. The people who cut you off in traffic, the difficult co-workers, the demanding boss, they are all driving through the same storm, carrying their own hidden pains, fears, and insecurities. When Marcus Aurelius woke up in his tent, he spoke to himself about sympathia, writing, "We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth." To act against one another then is contrary to nature. When you embed sympathia into your morning thoughts, your entire posture toward humanity shifts. You stop taking people's bad behavior personally. You replace hostility with understanding, anger with patience, and arrogance with quiet strength. You step out of your door not as a defensive victim, but as a grounded force of calm authority that elevates every room you walk into. We have uncovered the first three master words that re-anchor your awareness, shield your tranquility, and connect your spirit to the world around you. But we have not yet touched the two final words, the absolute master keys that ancient sages used to eliminate hesitation, destroy fear, and unlock a state of explosive daily motivation that makes procrastination physically impossible. And more importantly, You need to know the exact 15-second morning sequence that ties all 5 words together into a seamless ritual that reprograms your subconscious mind before your feet even touch the floor. Whenever you are ready to reveal the final 2 words and master the complete morning ritual, simply give the word to continue, and we will step directly into the second part. Let's step directly into the 4th ancient word, the master key that turns your mind into an impenetrable fortress, hegemonikon, the command center of the soul. In Stoic philosophy, the hegemonikon is your ruling faculty. It is the absolute sovereign center inside your brain that sits above your emotions, above your physical pain, and above your sudden impulses. It is the judge that decides how you interpret reality. When an unexpected crisis hits, your lower, animal brain immediately floods your body with adrenaline, panic, or rage. But the hegemonikon is the quiet master that stands up, looks at the chaotic emotional impulse, and says, "You are just an impression. You are not reality. Sit down." To understand the terrifying power of this ruling center, consider a story recorded by the ancient writer Aulus Gellius. Gellius was traveling on a merchant ship across the Mediterranean Sea when a violent, destructive storm suddenly struck. The sky turned black, the winds tore the sails to ribbons, and massive waves crashed over the deck, threatening to drag the ship down into the icy abyss. Every passenger on board lost their mind to terror. Strong men fell to their knees, weeping, screaming, and praying to the gods. Sitting near the mast was a famous Stoic philosopher. Gellius watched the philosopher closely. The philosopher's skin had turned deathly pale, a natural, biological reaction to sudden danger. His pulse was racing, and his body was shivering from the cold salt water. Yet, while everyone else was running wildly across the deck, screaming in agony, the philosopher sat completely still, staring directly into the eye of the storm with unshakable composure. Hours later, the storm cleared, and the battered ship limped into port. A surviving passenger walked up to the philosopher with a smug grin and mocked him. "Why were you pale with fear during the storm, old man? I thought philosophers were supposed to feel no fear." The philosopher looked at the man calmly and replied, "When a storm hits, the human body cannot prevent the initial shock. The racing heart and the pale skin are biological reflexes. But while your lower mind gave its assent to panic, surrendering your soul to terror, my hegemonikon looked at the danger, remained in absolute command, and declared that death is nothing to be feared." Let that sink in. Your initial reaction to bad news is an automatic biological reflex. You cannot always stop your pulse from racing or your skin from feeling hot when someone disrespects you. But your hegemonikon is your power to pause, step back, and refuse to surrender to the panic. When you speak this word every morning, you awaken the inner master of your soul. You remind yourself that no person, no bad news, and no sudden storm has the right to command your mind without your explicit permission. This leads us directly into the 5th and final ancient word, the ultimate weapon against fear, regret, and hesitation, amor fati, the radical love of fate. Most people spend their entire lives fighting against reality. When plans fall apart, when traffic delays them, when a deal falls through, or when someone breaks their heart, they burn immense emotional energy screaming into the void, "Why did this happen? It shouldn't be like this." This constant friction against reality is the root cause of almost all human misery. Amor fati demands that you do not merely tolerate adversity, you love it. You treat every setback, every challenge, and every unexpected tragedy not as a curse, but as raw fuel tossed into the fire of your mind. Consider the story of Telamon, the legendary Greek king of Salamis. Telamon was a warrior king who sent his beloved son, Ajax, to fight in the Trojan War. Telamon loved his son deeply and had invested his entire life into raising him to be a heroic commander. One afternoon, a messenger arrived from the front lines, covered in dirt and tears, bearing the devastating news that Ajax had died in battle. The court fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. Everyone expected King Telamon to collapse into despair, tear his royal robes, and curse the war. Telamon stood up from his throne, looked at the weeping messenger, and spoke words that shook the entire hall. I did not beg the gods to make my son immortal. I already knew when I fathered him that I had begotten a mortal man. Fate has claimed what was always its own, and I welcome its decree. Telamon didn't pretend he wasn't grieving. He simply refused to turn his grief into a bitter fight against reality. He understood that death, loss, and unexpected change are fundamental laws of the universe. When you practice amor fati, you stop viewing obstacles as disruptions to your life. You realize that the obstacle is your life. When a project fails, you don't complain, you say amor fati, and use the failure to build sharper skills. When someone betrays your trust, you say amor fati, and use the painful lesson to sharpen your discernment. You become an unstoppable force because every single blow life deals you only makes you smarter, stronger, and more resilient. Now, how do you tie these 5 ancient words into a seamless, 15-second daily ritual that reprograms your subconscious brain before you even get out of bed? The secret lies in the immediate moment you wake up. Before you touch your phone, before you check the time, before you let a single modern thought enter your head, lie completely still on your bed. Take one deep, full breath into your chest, hold it for 3 seconds, and slowly exhale. Then, speak these 5 words aloud, or whisper them deep into your mind with absolute intention. Prosoc. I am fully present in this exact moment. Ataraxia. My inner calm is impenetrable. Sympathia. I am connected to all human life. Hegemonican. I am the sole master of my mind. Amor fati. I welcome whatever fate brings today. Feel the immediate shift in your nervous system. In less than 15 seconds, you have seized control of your brain's morning opening window. You have placed an impenetrable shield around your soul before the chaotic noise of the world can touch you. You step out of bed not as an anxious, reactive victim of circumstance, but as a grounded, silent titan ready to conquer whatever the day throws in your path. The world outside your door will continue to be noisy, chaotic, and unpredictable. People will continue to act selfishly, plans will break, and unexpected storms will arrive. But none of it matters anymore. Because you no longer search for peace in the world outside, you carry it locked inside your own chest. Say the words. Reclaim your morning. Command your soul. If you are ready to discover how this quiet, inner power naturally transforms the way the world perceives you, forcing people to respect your presence without you ever having to say a loud word, do not miss our next step. Subscribe right now to the Stoic Path for our upcoming video titled, Quietly Magnetic, 10 Stoic Habits that Make People Notice You. Master your mind, command your energy, and step into your true power today.